let's talk about heat pumps while wearing cardigans. Come on, let's talk about heat pumps while we're wearing cardigans. Heat pumps and cardigans, heat pumps and cardigans, heat pumps and cardigans, heat pumps and cardigans. Hey everybody, welcome to Heat Pumps and Cardigans. This is our show for informal and in-depth conversations with folks making some of the most exciting heat pumps out there, all while wearing these cozy cardigans. We're so happy to have you with us. This show is a collaboration between the Advanced Water Heating Initiative, a nonprofit-led initiative pushing heat pump water heaters, and Clean Technica, a great international clean energy blog. Check them out. I'm Joe Wachunas with the nonprofit New Buildings Institute, and I'm really excited about today's show. We've got Navien on the show today, and Navien's a almost 50-year-old South Korean company. They're global in scale. They've got products in 30 countries, and to date they've been specializing a lot in gas boilers and gas water heaters. Especially instant gas water heaters. They lead the market. We'll talk about this, the North American market in tankless gas water heaters. And they focus especially on condensing technology. And that's all really cool. It makes tankless water heaters even more efficient. But this is a show about heat pumps. And today we're going to talk about their sleek black heat pump called the NWP 500. It's just hitting the market. And we're going to do a deep dive on how and why a company that's been specializing in tankless gas water heaters will start to build a heat pump water heater. We'll talk about their design process. We'll talk about why they think it's a good time to get into the market. And we'll spend probably the majority of the show looking at the water heater's features. And then we'll talk about Navien's good go-to-market strategy and how they intend to train contractors around the country. So it's going to be a really great show today, and I'm super excited to have two fantastic guests. I'm joined first by Matt Curo. He's been part of the Navien team for 14 years. He started as a service tech, and then he quickly moved up as a Canadian trainer, and now he currently leads North American. He's the North American training manager, and he oversees the academy and field training on all of Navien's products. He's got a wealth of knowledge and certified in hydronic design and HVAC and refrigeration. So super excited to have Matt with us today. And he's joined by Dave Hoskin. He is the product management director for Navien. He oversees all products, including this new NWP heat pump water heater. He started working in his father's plumbing and heating business and spent 20 years in plumbing and HVAC distribution. He joined Navien in 2010. And he moved into a training manager role, and that led him to product management, which became his primary role a couple years ago. So guys, super excited to have you on. Thanks for being on Heat Pumps and Cardigans, and thanks for wearing that great looking apparel to today's episode.
Well, thanks for having us, Joe. And I went deep into the closet for this one. So
love it.
Thanks, Joe. First word from mine, yours looks great as well.
Sounds great. Well, all right. So today we're going to spend a lot of time, like I said, on the features of your new heat pump water heater. But let's first center folks with a little background on Navien as a company and why you got into building a heat pump water heater. So start us off. Tell us about Navien as a company and where are you based?
Well, you mentioned a little bit of it, Joe. We are a South Korean-based company. We started in 1976 in South Korea as a boiler manufacturer, and we were the first company to make a condensing boiler for the Asian market. Developed product and started to do more global work, and then in 2006 started to look at the U.S. market, U.S. and Canada. 2008, we sold our first products here in North America, which were the condensing tankless water heaters that we introduced. Couple things about them. We did something that was really different in the industry at the time. Being condensing, it was a PVC vented product, so it's much easier to install. We also included a circulator in our tankless water heater, the first to ever do that. Providing recirculation, right? So now we cut down not only on energy usage to heat the water, but we cut down on water usage waiting to get that hot water out of the fixtures. So really, we have been focused on that energy saving side of things since we introduced our first product, even in South Korea, and really trying to, with the heat pump water heater, expand on that and look at how that will integrate or enhance our lineup.
Cool. That's awesome, and I really want to. We're going to dive into that recirculation because that's a big question with heat pump water heaters, and y'all have some ideas on that. So I'm excited about that. Um, that's super helpful background. How about this? This North American market. Y'all are in 30 countries. How important is North America to Navien? And yeah, let us know about that.
Yeah, for us, the North American market is a key part of our global focus. Not just in terms of the number of products we sell, but the quality and the markets that we focus on. Again, the high efficiency side of things. Um, there are, areas of the U.S. that are still a little bit behind in terms of adapting to high efficiency. We've seen it already in Canada, how Canada's focused more on efficiency with, no non-condensing tankless and that kind of thing up there. So we're hoping to try and move this market forward with that and try and enhance, the energy savings and the lifestyle that homeowners can expect from this kind of product, endless hot water, energy saving solutions, that kind of thing. So for us, the U.S. and Canada is a big part of our overall global focus.
That's great. And Matt, I see, you brought this helpful map up on the screen for those of us watching the YouTube. Tell us, explain a little bit, how this map shows where Navien is located.
Yeah. So as Dave mentioned, they're headquarters in South Korea, but this map's just kind of showing the expansion across the world, really, and showing some statistics of the number one. We've definitely focused on our tankless water heaters, our combi boilers, and boilers over the years, as you'll see from this. But with the ever growing expansion and the need of the North American market, that's where it's important to come out with heat pump water heater now.
Cool. Okay, great. Well, yeah, that's a good segue. So number one in tankless gas water heaters and boilers. Why decide to get into the market and why make a heat pump? Dave, you alluded to that a little bit, but give us the background for Navien's thinking on wanting to make a heat pump water heater.
Yeah, you're right. We fully gas focused over the last 20 years, 25 years, 15 here in the US. But we've been watching the evolution of the market, right? There are things happening in the market, whether that's customer driven, demands for greener technology, that kind of thing, or it's regulatory driven. There are areas we know that we've heard that, emissions or gas is going to be severely restricted in a lot of areas. So we've really been kind of monitoring this market, where the market is shifting to. That regulatory thing has eased up a little bit, but we don't see that momentum ending at any time in the near future. And with the map up there that Matt's got, we look at the European market. That's kind of a precursor, especially when we look at boilers, but also this drive for electrification. We're watching that very closely also, and we've got a location in the UK, so we want to make sure we're addressing products for them also. But we knew that the demand for the heat pump water heaters is growing. We know it's a segment of the market that we will need to focus on at some point to stay relevant in the market. It took us a little bit longer maybe to get to where we wanted to be, simply because we weren't building tanks up until just a year or 2, 3 years ago. So it required a significant investment in shifting our market, shifting our manufacturing, adding some lines and square footage to the plant to be able to do that. So we've been watching the market for the 10 or so years that the products have been out there. We just thought, being able to develop and get where we're at now was the right time.
Okay, great. Thanks for that. Yeah, that's fascinating. As a tankless company, tanks were not especially in your wheelhouse until recently. So maybe that's a good segue to talk about the design process as a company that's been focusing on tankless. How did you go about designing for a tank heat pump water heater when it's a really different animal than a tankless gas water heater?
Yeah, it was a huge shift for us, and we knew that we couldn't just throw something against a wall and hope that it stuck. We had to do some field research. We had to see what was out there in terms of what our competitors were doing at the time. Um, some of the aspects of the design of our heat pump water heater do evolve from our gas tankless. Some of the control features mentioned recirculation. We'll get into that more later, but that's an evolutionary process off our tankless unit. And just the heart of our heat pump water heater now, the stainless steel tank, right? That is another step that we took from our knowledge in building all of our condensing products out there that are gas fired. Where with those products we take the raw materials off the truck and it becomes a heat exchanger at the end of the assembly line, all from stainless steel, and we were able to then use that knowledge to go into a tank and build a heat pump water heater around that tank. And then, from there, adding the controls and the features that we have built into it just were again an extension of what we were doing out there already with our tankless units.
Yeah, that's fascinating. Yeah, the applying the stainless steel tank, which you had been using in the tankless water heaters, to the heat pump water heater, that makes for an interesting innovation that I want to dive into. Um, and Matt, maybe if you have a slide showing the different types, so we can let folks look at the. Yeah, that's great. So that's the. You want to say something about this about all the Navien products?
Yeah, absolutely. So something that's really neat with Navien is how much they've grown over the years. They're definitely focused on providing units that are very environmentally friendly. And when you look at Navien and how Dave and I say it and how you've been saying is what it stands for in navigating energy for the environment. So Navien is a company that's very much committed to bringing eco-friendly products to the market and doing so with great selling features to make sure these units are going to last for years of trouble-free operation. And that's one of the reasons that we focused on kind of stainless steel when we first came out with our tankless, and then expanded that to our combis and our boilers, and now the heat pump water heater. So on the board, what you're seeing right now, for those that are viewing this, is kind of roughly what our current line card looks like. The reason I'm saying roughly is there are some stuff displayed on the screen that are not yet available, that will be available in the next couple months. As we look at growing into larger boilers and more furnace models and more of our air conditioners and heat pumps, some of that stuff's going to be added. But with that, what you're seeing is we have a whole section of available water treatment products, where we're trying to deliver very healthy water for our customers. We have items such as RO systems, carbon block systems, and an industry exclusive product, which is referred to as our WEC, which is down at the bottom. And that's going to remove all sorts of different contaminants from the water as it goes through there, to really focus on delivering in customers healthy, clean, potable drinking water. So potable water is something that we focus on across the board with our water heaters. And again, another reason why we've chosen to use stainless steel.
Cool. Yeah, that's awesome. Really, yeah, excited. We'll do a deep dive on the stainless steel tank as one of the really interesting features of this product. Maybe one or two more preliminary questions for you guys. A couple manufacturers who were new to heat pumps or tanks have opted to go a different route. They've white labeled another manufacturer's products, and this manufacturer is already building heat pump water heaters, and so they'll white label it and bring it here faster. Navien decided to build one from the ground up. Tell us a little bit about that decision to make your own heat pump water heater.
Well, everything that Matt's got on the screen there, with the exception of a few products, we build ourselves. I said it earlier, we take the raw materials off the truck, roll it into pipe and tube, and make heat exchangers from it. So that's been our go-to-market strategy for the last 25, 30 years. Um, we looked at the opportunity to partner with a manufacturer to develop a product for us. The challenge with that is that you are tied to that product, but you also don't have full ownership of it. If something may go wrong or something happens to come up where you're not quite understanding what's going on with the product, it's a longer process to get back to the original manufacturer to determine what's going on. And then how do you react to it and how do you adjust to it from there? By being vertically integrated like we are, we know the ins and out of this product, very well. From the circuit boards we build to the tank we welded, we know that thing fully. So seeing things that may come up in the market, reacting to them, we're much more flexible in terms of how we can do that and how quick we do that. And the other side of that, with the global economy and the tariffs that are going on right now, if you're partnering with somebody, there may be after effects from that you're not aware of up front, and that down the road may become a significant factor in terms of pricing or even availability. So by doing it ourselves, it maybe took us a little bit longer to get to market, but we fully know what's inside there. We know the quality, we know how to react to it, we know how to fix it if necessary. So that's a big part of everything we do on that screen.
Okay. Yeah, that makes a ton of sense. Yeah, I can see that. Yeah, developing yourself would add that extra time, but give you a lot more control over the product. Yeah. Well, speaking of timing, the maybe my last preliminary question is, we've got now 11 or 12 heat pump water heater manufacturers, which from our perspective is amazing. We love the product choice, but how does Navien feel about coming to market now and in 2025 with the product? Why do you feel like now is a good time to bring a heat pump water heater?
Well, some of it was like we talked about. It took us a little bit longer by doing it ourselves and switching from gas to electric. It took us a little bit longer to get to where we wanted to be. But being first isn't always winning in some of these situations, right? The first guy out there always has to deal with the headaches, and the adaptation of the market to the product. And by waiting, we allowed the market to mature a little bit and see what was working and what was not. So I think that gives us a little bit of preliminary knowledge to be able to come out with a product that's market ready, instead of trying to throw something out there that you don't know for sure if it's going to be accepted or not. I'd say it's no different than it was with our tankless units. When we introduced our condensing tankless unit out there in 2008, we were not the first by any means. Tankless had been around for quite a while, but we were the first to have a few features that nobody else had. And I think that's paid off pretty well for us to come into the market ready, maybe having some enhancements that nobody was considering to change the market a little bit. I think we have that advantage now with the timing of our heat pump water heater.
That's interesting strategy, and interesting that it paid off so well for tankless. Yeah, waiting to see the market mature and develop, and then bringing your product here. Cool, that's great. All right, well, let's dive into the features of the water heater. And so, Matt, I'm not sure which slide would be good, but that's perfect. Go ahead. Do you want to kick us off here with this?
Sure. Yeah, I was going to say with the features and the design and coming out at now, one of the nice things with waiting till now is being able to get extensive feedback from a lot of our customers that might have tried another manufacturer's heat pump water heater and then work with us on the development stage, kind of field test stage, to really let us know what's important for them to have in the units, and what's not. So it's definitely a unit that it's not like our engineers just sat in an office and came up with this unit and said, hey, this is what you're getting. It's something designed to meet what the industry was requesting, both from a certification point of view and whether it's NEA Tier 4, or whether it's NSF certification, that sort of thing, but having the features to make it easy to install, and a great comfortable unit for our customers to actually own.
And did you get, just on that note, did you get good feedback from, Navient's installer network on the product ahead of time? Was that part of the research and development, getting installer direct feedback?
Absolutely. So when it comes to things like top and side connections, that's something that was requested from the field because when you look at installations, sometimes, you might be in a basement, you might want to use those top connections. Other applications, you might be in a garage, you might want to use the side connections. So, the feedback is, taken right into the design and what was released to the product.
That's great. Yeah. Yeah, that is one of the key features. We've seen, a couple manufacturers moving to that. It does seem to be a no-brainer. A lot of the water heaters that you're replacing have the top connections, and so you want to have that option. But yeah, that flexibility for top and side makes a ton of sense. But let's talk about one of the most exciting features about the NWP 500. Talk to us about the stainless steel tank. We've danced around it a little bit. We know that water heater tanks that aren't stainless can corrode over time. That's why they have these things. It's called anode rods that corrode instead of the tank. But Navien doesn't need an anode rod. So give us the full background on the stainless steel tank and why it's an asset. And maybe as an add-on question, why hasn't anybody else done this? How come you all are the first on this? So
Yeah, great question. So stainless steel tank, there's several different selling features to it being a stainless steel tank. As you mentioned there, one of them is the anode. So when you think of the anode, it's essentially a sacrificial piece of metal in that tank that's almost slowly dissolving basically into the water. So with that, from an end user point of view, nobody wants to have dirty potential water and stuff that you might not want to drink that you're using for your showering and so on. So having that stainless steel tank eliminates that anode, eliminating that concern. What it's also doing though for our contractors is it's eliminating the service requirement. So we don't have to get back and replace that anode every couple of years, depending on your water quality and where you're located. So it's improving the overall customer experience while also making sure that the tank itself is a high quality, durable tank that's going to last, well beyond our warranty period on the systems.
very cool. And I guess I'm curious about the cost. I imagine, not knowing anything about it, but I imagine stainless steel is more expensive than regular steel. And you all had to weigh that and including it as a feature. Talk to me about that a little bit. How you might go for the higher cost tank but still keep the cost down for the water heater.
Yeah, reliability to us is key and comfort for our customers. So, spending a little bit more to produce a product that we feel is superior is something that we definitely are okay doing with. With that, as Dave mentioned, Navien has had years of experience working with stainless steel, buying in large quantities. So the cost to us might not be the same cost that other manufacturers might pay based on the volume. And it's a material that we're very familiar with working with and have the tools and machinery to handle appropriately for making items such as this.
I'd add also too that when you have a stainless steel tank, not only do you eliminate the need for a anode rod, so there's a cost factor there. There's a connection that needs to be welded in there, but we also don't have the glass lining, right? If I'm using a steel tank, I line it with glass or cement or whatever the manufacturing process they may use, which that step of doing that, there may be a cost reduction in the just in the manufacturing process. So, overall pricing for us has to be competitive. We can't launch a product that's priced so far out of the market, it's irrelevant, no matter how good it is, right? This is a product that people need to be able to afford to put in their home and be able to be happy with what they got for their money.
Yeah. Yeah, makes good sense. And that's interesting. The background, having worked with, stainless steel providers for a long time might, enable you to get, better pricing. And then also the fact that, it eliminates some other things like the anode rod, the cost around the anode rod and the glass lining. Super interesting. I guess, one other thing just on this stainless steel, we hear that hey, the heat pump might last a long time in a water heater, but tanks are the maybe area where that might fail quicker. Would you expect that to not be true? That a stainless steel tank could last longer in a Navien comparatively, and make these things indestructible for decades? I mean, you don't
It,
have to say
it
decades.
it's more resistant to corrosion and contaminants from actually sticking to it. So our hope is that it would last longer. I mean, we'll see what happens 10, 15 years down the road, of course. Anything's man-made, anything can fail here, but we do expect it to be more durable and have a longer life expectancy.
That's great. Yeah, be interested to see a long study with different water heater types and the longevity. That's cool. Cool. All right. Well, let's move on to some other features. We talked about the stainless steel tank. We talked about the inlet and outlet locations. Do you have a good image for the inlet and outlet locations on the tank? I mean, you see it a little bit there on the image you're showing us, Matt.
See a little bit here. I don't know if we have a better picture. I will say we have, a picture showing you 3 different sizes with
That's great.
where it's all
Yeah.
located.
Yeah.
And you'll see there it's very similar across the 3 different sizes of the tanks. Doesn't matter if it's 50, 65, or 80 here. Very well built, high quality connections that are there.
Got it. Yeah. So we're looking at an image with the 50 gallon, the 65 gallon, and then the 80 gallon. And it does look like, so the 50 gallon, as it gets larger, the width goes up, especially, and of course the height, especially on the 80. Yeah.
Yeah. And one thing to point on this that you'll also see that's different from some other tanks, and something that we did based on the feedback from the field, is actually just the drain on the bottom of that tank. As simple as a drain valve is, you'll notice that that's actually a full port ball valve that's there. So something that's not going to seize up on our customers. So when they're doing their mains, when they want to drain some water down off that system, it's very customer friendly.
Cool. Just a question that popped in my mind. With a stainless steel tank, is it still recommended to drain the water heater annually, or is that really due to having an anode rod, and you don't have to do that with the stainless steel?
Periodically, in my opinion, I would still drain it down, because you can get sediment depending on what's in your water, high TDS kind of settling at the bottom. There's not as much concern of stuff really sticking to the walls as some of the materials, but I personally would still do it.
Yeah, got it. Okay, and I think, Matt, maybe just show a slide or two ahead. It showed the stainless steel tank a little more clearly.
Yeah, the cutaway there shows the top connections. Yep.
Cool. Yeah. Very cool.
Yeah, perfect. So top connections there, and you'll see that where it kind of hits the top of the unit there's, of course, a cover to the top of the tank, but inside the unit, there's a brass fitting there to our stainless steel pipe coming up off the bottom.
Okay, got it. Very cool.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
I was going to say built-in heat trap to that as well. So in areas where, to prevent the heat from just migrating up your pipes, you don't have to add external heat trap nipples to that system as well. So definitely makes it easier from an install point of view. Nice thing to point out with this cutaway is you'll actually see where those electric elements are as well.
Yeah, I was going to say that.
So a lot of our literature refers to it as a backup element. This unit can be set up to different modes, depending on how you want to run it in the field, whether you want it as an electric only unit, that's actually an option, whether you want it as a heat pump primarily unit, or having the elements as backup based on when the temperature drops a fair bit, or if you have high demand applications, you can actually set it to high demand mode to kick in those elements earlier on in the operation of the system. Each one of those modes, of course, would affect the efficiency. So when we're trying to get the highest efficiency out of that system, that's when we want to primarily use the heat pump itself, where we have the 4.05 rated efficiency for the largest unit.
That's great. Yeah, that 4.5 is so great. Yeah, it is important to kind of talk about that. The heat pump water heaters are essentially electric water heaters. They have that capability, but they have that heat pump included. It's nice to have those various options to make sure you have all the hot water you need. I think that it's surprising. As somebody who's had a heat pump water heater almost a decade, we almost always leave it in heat pump mode only, and we have plenty of hot water storage, but having different options is great. as long as I think especially if your goals are efficiency, which we hope they are, you're leaving in that heat pump mode a lot of the time. Cool, great. All right, well, let's talk about a little bit about noise for heat pump water heaters. That noise has been a thing. There is a compressor and there's a fan. And in this first 10, 15 years of heat pump water heaters, noise has sometimes been a concern. How did Navien navigate that? And tell us about the noise levels of your heat pump water heater.
Absolutely. So we've designed this to try and be one of the quietest heat pumps on the market, and there's a couple different ways we were able to achieve that. One is when you look at the compressor itself. You'll also actually note from that picture, if you can see it, that on the bottom of it, there is some isolation support mounting brackets. So we're going to try and reduce that noise from being transmitted through the water heater and potentially through the piping and so on. What we've also done that's not shown in this picture is that compressor actually has a kind of like a custom designed, we'll call it a cardigan for it. It's got a sweater. It's insulated to keep that noise in so that it's not transmitted into the room itself. Another item that we've done is actually the design of the fan itself. It's a Cerakote fan. I hope I'm saying that right. Apologies if I'm not. But with the design of the blades, it's much quieter than some of the other fans on the market. And then on top of that, what we've done is we've actually made it so that the intake and exhaust are off the top of this unit instead of being off of the side. And that makes it so that if this is pulling air in just from the room that it's in and it's not vented to the outside or to a garage or wherever it might be, we made it so that the air would be blowing up instead of directly towards where somebody might be. So even if you do get that air volume going through there, you don't notice it as much as some other systems that are out there.
Cool. Yeah, it seems like a lot of great design around reducing noise levels. That's awesome. And maybe as we're talking about that, the intake and exhaust there at the top that we can see in the slide, talk to me a little bit about ducting. Sometimes if you have your heat pump water heater located in an interior room, you may want to duct it to the outside or duct it somewhere else, just so you don't have that cool air blowing on you, or if the closet is too small. As a little bit of a background, some other manufacturers have to, you have to buy a proprietary duct kit. What was Navien's approach on setting the heat pump water heater up for ducting?
Yeah, so ducting is a very important topic with heat pump water heaters that sometimes gets a little bit overlooked. So hopefully, the contractor putting it in, make sure the homeowner's aware of what's going to happen if they don't duct that. We want to make sure that, of course, there's enough heat available for this unit to grab heat from that air wherever it's located, and be able to essentially condense that heat and heat the water effectively with it. One of the things that we did with our design to it is you'll notice that both those collars are 8-inch. And on the intake side specifically, there's actually a washable intake air filter. So we've tried to make it so it's really simple maintenance to all aspects of this, including for ducted applications. And that way, if the intake's coming in from outside and maybe it's close to the ground and a drier exhaust, whatever it might be, we don't want those contaminants coming in and actually building up on the actual coil in here or any of the components that are there. So our approach to this was to make it so that we can use on-the-shelf accessories available at all. Whoops, sorry, a bit of lag there. Back up. There we go. So our approach to this was to make it so that we can use readily available components that you can get at pretty much any distributor or any big building box store to accomplish the venting and not require specific accessories. When we look at water tank replacements, very often hot water tanks, when they're replaced, they're emergency situations. Nobody wants to be without heat. Nobody wants to be without sorry, I said heat.
Hot water.
Yeah, nobody wants to be without hot water. So we want to make sure that hopefully the contractor has what they need already in the shop to do the replacement, or can easily get it, easily install that, and not wait for a component or accessory to be shipped to them. We also want to make sure that we can use fairly small size ducting for some applications, so we're not putting giant holes in walls or having to put bulkheads in basements or anything like that to hide the ducting on the systems. So with that, you'll see we can go quite a distance if somebody is leaving at 8 inch all the way up to 300 feet. If somebody's putting this on a exterior wall or close to exterior wall, though, nice thing with that is we can actually go all the way down to 5 inch and get that ducted outside to meet an application's requirements. When it comes to ducting it, key thing with this, keep in mind, is as this system's running, the exhaust from that system is essentially going to be cold, drier air than what went into it. So we wouldn't want to necessarily blow that into a house depending on where the unit's located. So for cold climates, one of the things that we can do is we can actually use the indoor air for the intake and blow that exhaust outside to remove that cold air, so we're not cooling down the space in the winter. For warm climates, the other thing we can do is actually use the intake duct for outdoor air coming in and exhaust that air inside to actually help condition a space. So one of the things we've seen with that is, applications where, somebody might be blowing that exhaust into a garage to cool it down, something like that.
Yeah. Yeah, there's great ways to make use of that cool air. We have ours just ducting into our house. It's just open from our utility closet. In the summer, it's really nice free AC. So yeah, interesting stuff. Okay.
Yeah, I like how you mentioned the free AC. So that's something that we've, speaking with contractors, that they do. We've heard of them actually sell that as a selling feature, saying, "Hey, you put this in and you get AC." Yes, while the unit's running, you got AC,
Yeah,
but if
yeah,
it's not
yeah,
running, it's not doing. So we,
yeah.
we've avoided making that claim a little bit.
Just the 6 to 8 hours it's running a day. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
We could get into the weeds. There are ways to like time your hot water usage so you get AC when you want it. But then you have to be a huge nerd like me, I think, to do that. So I do want to talk, maybe get back to what we talked about a little bit before on the recirculation. We heard that Navien has developed a proprietary recirculation with some of your gas water heaters. And recirculation in heat pump water heaters can be a challenge because it's for a couple of reasons. If you continuously recirculate your water, it's not great for a heat pump. But tell us about your thinking about recirculation and this new heat pump water heater.
Yeah, so recirculation is one of the great features for delivering comfort for a customer, as well as potentially saving on their water and electricity bills, so that they're not just opening up a faucet and just dumping that water until they get that hot water they need. We want to make sure that a customer is happy with their purchase, and we want to make sure that we can get them that hot water as quickly as they desire. That's something we learned with our tankless over the years, and that's where it's important for us to come out with accessories such as this. Look at our tankless specifically. A lot of customers refer to them as instant water heaters. So recirculation is something that's definitely been demanded from us to come out with. So with that, a lot of systems out there, if you just add a pump to the tank, you got that system kind of always running, and you can have temperature stacking within that system, and it greatly lowers your efficiency potentially. So we're coming out with our own circulation pump. And the circulation pump is actually going to combine with a flow sensor and a temperature sensor that directly communicate back to the control board within our unit. So we can control when that pump is running, how it's running, and make sure that it's actually meeting our customers' demand and their requirements to give them that water when they need it.
Okay. Cool. Will it be something like an on-demand type one, or is it just like a smart recirculation pump that learns habits? Anything more to say on how it functions?
There's going to be a couple different programming options with it. One of them will be a timer feature, so you can have it set up so that if, for example, say you shower at 7 a.m. Monday to Friday, you can actually set that up so that recirc is going to come on at, if you want, 6:30 to 7:30 Monday to Friday, so that water's there when you need it right away. Another feature we're going to come out with is the ability to use push buttons, which is something we have right now for other units. And the push button, essentially, it looks almost like a doorbell. You'd wire them up throughout your house back to this, and traditionally you'd have it kind of near your kitchen sink or near the bathroom entrance. Push that button, that activates that circulator to come on, give you that hot water just when you need it.
Dave, do you want to add anything to that? I saw you mute.
No, yeah, Matt's right about that, and the the pump is designed really to integrate fully with our tank. If you go buy a heat pump water heater and throw an off-the-shelf pump on it, it's going to run. You can run it off a timer, you can do on demand, that kind of stuff. But by using it tied into our controller, we're also monitoring the tank temp. Matt mentioned that earlier too. You start running your recirc too much and it's dumping it back into the bottom of the tank. You start to get some stacking, and that can affect the operation of the heat pump and the efficiency of the unit. So yeah, that's a lot of manufacturers have avoided recirculating or approving recirculation on their heat pump water heaters because of some of those reasons. Plus, you're running a pump all the time, you're losing your efficiency running that heat pump, trying to maintain that tank all the time. And we know with the heat pump, the recovery time's a little bit longer. So the more heat you take off there, the more you have to run that heat pump. So we wanted to make sure we ran this pump in a way that maximizes the efficiency and still saves the end user water.
That's really cool. Yeah, yeah. To be the first to have your own in-house recirculation pump, that seems like that's going to really fill a need. So cool. Good on you all. Okay, last feature, and then I want to talk about bringing the product to market to close us out. Talk to us a little bit about the control panel. We've seen some, different setups for different control panels with heat pump water heaters. How is Navien approaching the controls?
So we've tried to make the control as user-friendly as possible. We want to make sure that when a contractor is putting this in, they're not having to consult install manuals. They're not having to, call a buddy for help or anything like that. We want to make sure it's very intuitive and it's going to be simple in a way that anybody can really figure out exactly how to program the units. So one of the things that we actually came out with when this unit was launched was a startup wizard to it. So instead of looking at dip switches and stuff like that, we've made it so that right on startup, it's going to say starting NWP setup wizard, press OK to continue, and walk the contractor through some of the basic items that they're going to program within the units, such as your temperature, such as your date and time, and including your setting on how the unit's going to operate, whether you want it in heat pump mode or eco mode or hybrid mode.
Cool. Do you want to show us a little bit? Can you give us a little live demo of the controls real quick?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, so here we are. This is a little view of what the control panel and the heat pump water heater will look like, Matt.
Yeah. So this is the control for the heat pump water heater. Again, designed to make it very simple to use and walk contractors through several of the basic settings that they would do. Basically enough to get started with any application that's out there. So starting PCW setup wizard, that's just the version of software of the actual control board. It's called PCW. We just hit the OK button, confirm system setup, hit the OK. And then we can actually adjust the date and time on the system if you needed to. This program's running off my computer, so you'll see my computer clock is off by about a minute there, but pretty close. So if I hit the OK button, switch to the next step, which is choosing what units we want the unit to display. So we do have the unit set up to have both an imperial and a metric mode. So if you'd rather see Celsius in meters, we can scroll down, hit the OK button. Or for most people, even Canadians, they will leave it in Fahrenheit, gallon, and feet and hit the OK button. And then one of the accessories that we have coming out later this year is a leak detection system. Essentially, it's a little sensor. It'll go on the ground or near your floor drain, wherever your heat pump water heater is located. And it communicates back to the unit. And there's also a solenoid that gets installed on the top of your heat pump water heater. And so what that'll do is make it so if it ever senses there's a leak on the floor, we can actually shut the water off to the water heater. So I'm going to leave that as not installed. And then it's going to actually tell us to fill the tank up. So we want to make sure that on startup, somebody's reminded to just open up a faucet so we get flow coming through that tank, as well as we get the air out of that tank so that it does not overheat on startup. With that, we do actually have an overheat protection that'll happen on startup. So if somebody just hits the OK and that tank's filled with air, temperature quickly rises, it'll actually produce an error code if that happens. But typical install, open up cold water supply valve, open up hot water faucet, then hit the OK button. You're going to allow the water to run until flow It flows with a full stream for 3 minutes, and then we close the hot water faucet, confirm and hit OK that you did that. And then this is where we have the operation mode. So whether we want to be in energy saver mode, heat pump mode, high demand mode, we can select that all right there. If the unit was already running and we went to change the operation mode, another option that'll actually show on the screen is vacation mode. So if somebody's on vacation, we don't need to unnecessarily run that water heater. So we can have the system essentially go off while they're on vacation for additional energy savings. If somebody's doing that, one of the things to be aware of is we do actually have a Legionella protection mode that can be enabled. And what that'll do is make it so that you can choose how often the Legionella protection mode will come on, and it will heat the water within that tank to try and kill any bacteria that might be forming within that system. But we want to run this efficiently. I'm going to select heat pump for this example, hit the OK button, and then you'll see it actually tells you what that mode means. So it'll tell us, only the heat pump is used to heat the tank and that it's the most energy efficient mode. Hit the OK button to confirm that. And now we can adjust the temperature if we wanted to, right? So if somebody wants to lower that temperature down, you'll see I can just keep tapping that down button and it'll go as low as we can go down to 95 degrees. Or we can actually increase that temperature all the way up to 150 degrees. Be aware if you're setting this above 120 degrees, good practice is to actually put a mixing valve on that system. We do want to make sure that we're going to protect the occupants from scalding. Definitely common practice is to heat it over 120 degrees. And that way you can actually store more heat energy in that tank to deliver longer amounts of domestic hot water when there's demand. I'm not going to set it to 150 though. It's pretty hot. That's a lot of hot water. Let's just go 120. Hit the OK button. And then all of our heat pump water heaters actually have a built-in Wi-Fi module to the systems. So if you want to connect these units to the internet, you can easily connect it to the internet. From the internet, that allows us to do things such as remote monitoring, some remote programming of the systems, but also enter time of use settings. So I'm going to press skip for this example. And then if we are having an EcoPort, top right side of our unit does have an EcoPort connection to it. We can hit start if it's there. I don't have one plugged into my computer, so I'm going to press skip. And the nice thing here is it's going to give us a quick little summary of all of our different settings that we just set. I go hit the OK button, confirm everything's the way I want it. If it's not the way I want it, I can hit the back button and actually change in these settings. And just like that, we are done. So with that, if this unit was a real unit in the field and not just a program here, the screen would actually change colors to blue to indicate that the unit is now running. And we would actually see on the right side here, this kind of like it's designed to look like a battery indicator. It'll show us the percentage of hot water we have available in that tank.
Cool. That's really cool. That's super helpful to see when it's running and not, and how much hot water. I've seen that in apps, but never on the water heater control board. So that's cool. Yeah, well, thanks for walking us through that, Matt. That's really super interesting. And the setup seems very straightforward. Great. Well, let's turn to the final part of our conversation, talk about how Navien's thinking about bringing this product to market. Maybe first thing to talk about is, one of the challenges, one of the elephants in the room for heat pump water heaters is they're a little bit more expensive up front. Talk to us a little bit about Navien's thinking on, pricing and where y'all fit in with other manufacturers and how to keep people water heaters, relatively affordable for folks.
Yeah, we mentioned that earlier that we have to be competitive in the market, so we see where we're at compared to other manufacturers as they do with us, right? And we manufacture products in a way that, vertically integrated. We have some resources like Matt mentioned. We can buy stainless at a good price. We do all that to keep that price competitive. But the reality is, as Matt mentioned earlier, people don't think about their water heater until it's either not hot or it's running all over the floor. And so getting someone to replace their water heater is hard enough, but then when they see an upfront cost that is, maybe higher than what they can afford, that's a big challenge in our industry. So we do things maybe a little bit differently than other manufacturers. We don't do any retail. We don't do any internet sales for any of our products. If it's bought on the internet, we don't warranty the product. That's protecting us, but more importantly, protecting the end user, knowing that it's installed right, it's backed up by the manufacturer. So everything we do is through wholesale distribution to licensed contractors. We support our contractors to make sure they know what they're doing, that they install it right, that it's backed up by their service side of things. We also support our contractors through some financing things. We have a product called Navien for our contractors that allows them to sign up and be able to offer some financing to an end user if they can't afford it. So there's resources like that are out there. We also know that right now there's definitely a shift toward electric products, and then incentives are out there that can help. A lot of the utilities are providing some incentives, not just for the product itself, but in some cases to upgrade an electrical panel if they need it. So there's a lot of different ways that we can try and help this product get into the market. A lot of it, it's based on lessons that we learned again about tankless and condensing boilers. And those are always been traditionally more expensive than what a standard water heater or boiler has been. So we've had to navigate that, and I think we've put some things out there that have helped guys.
That's a great point. Yeah, the tankless usually, yeah, is a premium product that's a little more expensive. So having that financing that you're showing, Matt, that is interesting. Yeah, we see financing for lots of other products. Like solar panels. Nobody, most people do not just pay for that up front, but they're
Right.
using some financing. A lot of folks don't have water heaters in mind with financing, but so you're saying, Dave, that your tankless experience, financing brings it within reach?
It does. It does in a lot of cases. It gives them a resource to, not everybody can afford to go to a bank and get a loan or have the available cash to do that. If the contractor has a resource like this, like Navien, they have a way to help a end user be able to get that product installed. We've seen that happen in the HVAC industry for a long time. The plumbing side of things didn't necessarily evolve until we started to see products like tankless and like heat pump water heaters that are a little notch higher in the terms of the cost of it. And so these programs are starting to move into the plumbing side more and more as we see products like this come out.
Great. That seems, that upfront cost can be a barrier. So tools to help, reduce that upfront cost are just key. Great. Okay. Well, let's talk about going to market. How do you think we talked about this a little bit, but how do you think you will be setting yourself apart in coming to market? And is there any particular location that you want to, chat about, where folks will be able to find Naviens, in the foreseeable future? So talk to us about where and how.
Sure. I mentioned before, we're strictly wholesale through contractor. We've, through the last 15, 17 years, established a very robust distribution partnership with a lot of major and regional distributors in the industry. So they all have access to this product. So this product is already shipping. It's already across North America.
Cool.
And the relationships that we have built through our sales and manufacturer rep network, our distributor network, but also a key thing for us is training. We have been wholly focused on the training side of things since we launched our tankless unit, because again, adapting to a new technology, getting contractors convinced that this actually does what we say it does, getting them comfortable with it is a key way to get it into the market and to sell that product to the end user. If the contractor believes in it, it's much easier to get that homeowner to believe in it. And so for us, training, Matt's doing a great job with our training department. I know a guy that trained him pretty well, so kudos to him. But that's a big part of what we're trying to do. It's a huge focus for us. And I think that's really what has, between that and our technical support, those two things have really set us apart in a lot of the things we've done with all of our products.
Let's see. I want to underline that. Yeah, Dave. It's the training piece and getting contractor buy-in has been a challenge we've seen across the industry. So maybe say a little bit more on getting that contractors interested. I mean, it seems like y'all have the training piece that you're really focused on, but do you think the training itself will get them interested? Talk to us about how you did that with tankless and how that'll apply to heat pumps.
Sure. I mentioned it before, is incentives. That always helps. We always see this with new higher efficiency technology and industries that sometimes it takes a little bit of a bump or a boost to help get that product launched. And incentives, whether that's utility incentives, whether that's government, federal, state tax incentives, whatever that may be. But then we also do that through some of our support side with Navien Rewards. That's another program we have for our contractors, give them a little something back for using our products. For us, we know that there are pockets right now where heat pump water heaters are pretty prevalent, right? We know the Pacific Northwest, we know that California, Maine, who would have thought that Maine would take off with heat pumps, but they've done a great job with it up there. But we look at the next kind of step there, and really the southeast of the United States is another prime opportunity where changeouts from an electric resistance tank, which are prevalent down that area, to a heat pump water heater may be a pretty easy sell. So focusing with incentives and ways to help our distributors and contractors in that territory be able to go to market and promote that product. And again, it's going to have to take a little bit of a nudge from our utilities or our government to help drive some of that too.
Yeah. There has been a lot of it. We just did an article on some of the top incentives in heat pump orders, and just speaking about the Southeast, the Tennessee Valley Authority has a huge, I think, $1,300 rebate right now. Georgia Power has $1,000 rebate. So yeah, there are some really juicy rebates out there.
Yeah,
exciting.
Yeah.
Okay, well, maybe to close, maybe a tough question for you both to close our this great interview. Some heat pump water heaters, we're in the first or the second decade of heat pump water heaters, but some of them have struggled with performance. We've seen some challenges, some various challenges, sometimes failures in heat pump water heaters, and lots of reasons for that. Some manufacturers are getting into heat pumps for the first time, and so there's some growing pains there. Navien getting into the market now with a heat pump water heater, how do you avoid some of these performance challenges? What will set you apart so that in bringing a new product to market, you won't need a couple decades to make your product really long lasting? Talk to us about what sets you apart and how you'll encounter or meet this challenge.
Sure, I can go first with that. First of all, the industry has evolved in terms of the testing and the rating and the certifications that we all have to go through now to prove we're all on an equal ground here, and this is what we're rated at. But the other big side of that it may not even be product related, but I'm going to bring training back into it. It's training the contractor to explain the product the right way to the end user so their expectations are realistic for what they're going to get, right? If you put in a product in your home and you think it's going to do everything you want it to do, but it ends up not doing that, that's where the disappointment lies. And that's where a lot of products have hit roadblocks in terms of adopting them into the industry. And I keep throwing tankless out there, but it's no different, right? That was a new technology that was really struggling to get going until we made it adapt to our market, and we train the contractors to understand how it works and what it actually does, and where it may not be a good fit. And so that to me is a key, is making sure that the product is fully understood by every step in the process.
Yeah, and to add to that, definitely kind of beat me to saying training. Training is one of the key things that by far the number one issue we see when there is problems build. Often it comes down to the install and whether it's installed properly, set up properly. From installed properly units, we rarely see issues. When something does happen, though, to me, one of the biggest selling features to our NWP as well as Navien as a brand is the support that we have on the back end. Not only do we have trainers, product managers, engineers that'll look into problems when there's an issue, but contractors have learned over the years that if there is a concern, we're going to look after them, and we're going to look after them 7 days a week. With our setup of being able to call tech support if you need help, that's something that really gives peace of mind, where when they commit to buying something, they know we're going to look after them. On top of just having phone support, though, we have reps throughout Canada, throughout the US that can visit job sites to assist customers when there is a concern. But on top of that, we've made it so that if there is an issue, you generally don't even have to call tech support if you've diagnosed the problem yourself and you know what the issue is. We've made it so that our licensed contractors can actually get many warranty parts right off of our website or right off of a Navien app. And with that support, we have 3DCs that are actually shipping those parts directly to the contractor. So it's not that they have to go through a distributor to get that support, whether it's for a part or for labor, it's dealing directly with us. With that, we have a facility on the East Coast in Toano, Virginia. We got a facility on the West Coast in Irvine, California, and a third facility in British Columbia, Canada, that's shipping those parts to customers when they need it. And as I mentioned there, it's 7 days a week. One of the things that we find interesting is Monday is one of our busy days for tech support. And that's because a lot of people just assume we're closed on weekends. So they wait till Monday to call in when, they could have called us while they were there and dealt with whatever the concern, whatever the issue is right when it happened.
That's great. Wow, it seems like a lot of support, which is crucial. And yeah, in switching to a new technology, contractors are looking for that. And the training, echo your thoughts on the training, Dave, as being just such a crucial piece. So look forward to see how Navien's training comes out. Go ahead, Matt. I see you pulling up this slide.
So I realized that wasn't on the screen, but great hours of operation there. And one of the things that surprises contractors that do use it is how fast you can get a hold of somebody as well. So you're usually speaking with somebody within a minute or less when you call in this number.
That's great stuff. Cool. Well, thanks, guys. This was a really in-depth conversation, as we promised. Really excited about the features of this Navien product and excited that y'all are getting into the market. So look forward to seeing how the product rolls out and having you back on in the future to talk more. So thanks so much for coming on to Heat Pumps and Cardigans. Really appreciate it.
My pleasure, Joe. Thanks for having us, too.
Yeah. Thank you, Joe. It's been a pleasure.